So hello, I'm Svetoslav, and I'm going to talk about the future of the buildings and construction in general, and architecture in the age of Anthropocene. And uh, I'm, I'm the co-founder of the Institute of Circular Economy, which was founded last year, and we are working in the new field of circular economy, and I will talk a little bit of that further. And I'm going to look a lot in my slides because I made 80% of them this morning, so sorry about that. So basically, what is the Anthropocene? The Anthropocene, it's a geological era. It's an epoch that it's viewed as the era where humankind is able to change the environment of the planet. And so the thing is that now we are so many as people, and our activity on the on the planet influences the climate and the environment. So basically, we are talking about climate change, and as the previous speaker talked a little bit about that, we're in the environmental crisis. But I think that we are in several crises, and they're environmental, economic, and technological. So basically, the environmental, we know all about it. But I think that in order to improve our environment, we have to change our economy and to change the system, how our economy is functioning. And basically, the thing is that we are not only interconnected as in the past, but we are interdependent from one another, from country to country and business to business even. And the technological thing is that our technology has improved so many in the recent years, and it is our choice how we are going to use it. Are we going to use it for something good, to improve the society, or for something else? I don't know. And this is one of my favorite role models, basically, Sir David Attenborough. And I'll give you a second just to read this quote, because I think that is very important for us. We're going to move to buildings and construction right now. And the thing is that by year 2030, more than 60% of the global population is going to live in cities. And actually for Bulgaria, this percentage is already reached. Like I think in 1989, we had more than 60% already living in cities. So a few facts about the building sector and the building industry. I've selected data for Europe, but for the world, it's not such a different situation. And as you can see, more than a third of the global CO2 emissions are coming from the building sector and the industry. And one of the most important things is that more than 40% of the energy use, of the primary energy use in the European Union, is used for buildings. And the thing is also about the materials and the climate inside of the buildings that we live and work in. Because the thing is that most of the materials that we're using right now are contributing to global damage and to climate change. And the internal comfort in the buildings that we occupy, it's not really good. So what we should do? We should either continue to continue to do the things as now, or we should change something. And this is a favorite picture of mine, because it is telling about the decline of the civilization on the Easter Island. And basically what happened over there is that the whole island was full of trees, but the people living there, they cut them eventually over several hundreds of years, and basically their civilization collapsed, and declined. So this is, I think that this is going to happen probably, or at least we are on the route of this happening on a global scale. So we must to change our models of thinking. And when we speak about buildings, for me the most important thing is that we have to design them better, and in order to use less energy than now. And this is already possible. A lot of people are doing it, and I think that the industry it's moving in this direction. But also we have to look at materials and how we harvest them, and how we make the products that we are the building blocks basically. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this slide here, and as you can see on the left, we're going from degeneration to sustainability and circular economy and regeneration. The thing is that now we are in the process of moving from degeneration to sustainability. But basically, sustainability, for me, it means just maintaining the status quo in a bit and doing things less bad. So the thing is that when we are moving to the right of the screen, we are going to talk to produce clean energy, and basically all the materials that we are using, they're going to be sustainably sourced. And this is a bit of this is the main point of the topic today. It is the supply chain of materials. And on the left-hand side, you can see one of the best, in my opinion, energy standards right now, construction standards, because it's not only an energy standards. And this is the Living Building Challenge. It's a US standard, and basically it has 7 petals, this flower, and we are looking at all of the different aspects of the building and its effect on the environment. And the idea here is that we should see the building as a tree and a city as a forest. So the thing is that the whole concept is to eliminate waste from the construction sector in a way. So we can take materials, from existing buildings and reuse them again in new ones, just as an example. And the connection between blockchain and architecture, it's that we can really use blockchain to create sustainable supply chains, in my opinion, because as you all know, the qualities of blockchain is that it's unalterable, it's distributed, and it's cryptographic. So the thing is that this translates in sustainability, in efficiency, transparency, and traceability, which means that, for example, if we take one, I don't know, if we take some kind of material, we can see the impact of this material from the production stage, from the extraction of the materials, and then the production and the assembly of this material. And then we can say what is the CO2 effect on the environment, and what are the chemicals used inside, and we can just trace it throughout a lot of years, basically. And what is really interesting for us, and we have already started working a little bit with one of our friends who is a producer of luminaires. We want to see basically what is the effect of every single material that is put in this in certain product, because currently we are looking just at one luminaire, and what is the effect on the environment, and what is going to happen after the end of life of this luminaire, for example. And In order to do that, we have to separate the materials into different sites. So basically, on one hand, we have the biological cycle and the technological cycle. So the thing is that if we do a product, if we take something, at the end of its life, we need to extract the biological part and reuse it in a biological cycle, probably recycle it, and reuse it again. And we have to take the technological side. We have to take all the materials that are inside, all of the alloys, for example, and chips and so on, and see how we can return them into the supply chain and reuse them again and again. And what are we trying to do, basically? It's to create a transparent environment for all the building materials, which is very, very hard, but maybe we can use your help here. So what are the pluses? The pluses is that we can have a clear design development, which means that we will know what is going inside a certain product. And in this way, we can make a repeatable process and deliver the best solution, to the best ecological solution and energy efficient solution to everyone. But what are the concerns here? The concern is that all the manufacturers, for example, of different materials or different technological components, they have to make transparent their information for their input of all of the materials, from where they are taking them, what is their impact on the environment, and so on. And this is basically the biggest challenge, I think, for us. But we have a lot of potential here, and I think that this is the way to go. So basically, I'm ready for the questions. And sorry about that, but it was very improvised. I did it this morning.
Well, you finished just on time. I'd say you did quite well. So I have a couple of questions, but let's see from the audience first. Does anybody... Okay, we have a question right there.
Hello, my name is Emilian Nenev, and my question is, do you think that it is realistic that in the future each one of these components and parts of the buildings will have unique identities on blockchain and can be tracked? Do you think that it is doable, realistic?
Yes, I think that it is doable, and actually I've recently started working for Samsung, and they already have this policy going on as a research project. So I think that this is the future. But the thing is that we need to get to a stage where every single producer of something, it's going to give this data freely, and it is not going to manipulate this data in a certain way. Because I think that this is one of the biggest problems. Maybe we are going to get the data from the producers, but this data, is it going to be wrong? Who is going to check it? So we need to create some kind of a database in order to do that. And I think that using blockchain, it's going to be a good solution here.
So before I go on to the next question, is Netko Yankov in the room? Because he's our next speaker and I don't see him. Okay, great. Are you wired up? Okay, fantastic. So that's good. My question to you is, I love the framework. Mm-hmm. How far along are we in implementing it? Is anybody actually doing this in practice? Because you're saying when you're starting a new construction project, you got to think about 50 years in the future, what's going to happen, what you're going to do with those materials. So is it still very theoretical, or are people actually doing something with this?
Unfortunately, it is still yet very theoretical, because a lot of research is going on in the universities, but the application is lagging a little bit. So maybe we have to find a way to stipulate the process in some way. To
bring it out of university and convince government and industry.
But the major challenge, I think, is just to convince the governments and the local municipalities and the local players to do it. Because I think that this is going to come from above.
And how do we do that? I mean, how do I get my local municipality to listen? Do we go and protest? Do we pay bribes? I'm not suggesting we pay bribes, but I'm asking, how do we make it work?
We're still going to find out, I don't know. Maybe with the help of Greenpeace, we're going to do it.
Fantastic. Any other questions at this point? Good, so let's give Svetoslav a round of applause. Thank you.